Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And for me, you can see the light is shining in my face. It's actually 5 p.m. right now. That's because I'm on the West Coast, Pacific.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Oh, nice. So, can you tell us a little bit? Where are you?
So I'm currently in Portland, Oregon. That's almost in the northwest of the United States. So almost all the way to the north. And I'm here for the YLI program, the Young Leaders of the Americas Initiative. So I flew in over the weekend.
Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
So, how do you travel from Suriname to Portland? I'm really interested.
So for me, it was pretty straightforward. So we had my flight from Suriname, Paramaribo to Miami. So that's the standard route to
Yeah,
usually to
most
Miami.
most standard route.
Yeah, and then I had a stopover from Miami to Dallas, and then from Dallas straight up to Portland.
Okay,
But I think there's different routes because someone
just
else
different. Yeah.
started the same, but ended up going a whole different route and
Well, I
ended
think
up arriving.
the West Coast, the Panama Road is quite interesting as well for the West Coast.
Yeah,
Um,
I
yeah,
saw like Houston, Dallas, or like hubs through Latin to
Dallas is
Latin
the main
America.
hub.
Yeah, to
Like
Latin America.
Dallas is like the main hub. Like almost everything goes through Dallas. Okay, but today's a little bit of a different episode. Um, as you can see from the title, we're gonna focus on the bear market, and the reason why we do want to cover this. I mean, I follow a lot of YouTube creators who are like financial advice creators, like Andre Yick, Graham North, these kind of
Who's the second one? I'm not sure. I'm familiar with this.
Stephen Graham. Am I saying
Oh,
his name correct? Yeah,
Gra- Graham Stephan.
yeah, Graham Stephen. Sorry,
Graham Stephan.
and Graham Stephen, and especially Andre Jake has been on I think a 3 week straight bottom approach. Like every video is about hitting rock bottom. I think he posted today about losing $1 million worth in stocks and crypto.
Yeah, his
And
portfolio basically vanished.
yeah, it's completely vanished. And I think this is one of the things that um, I've spoken to this with friends, with fellow online entrepreneurs. And when I predicted the bear market last year, they were like, "Yeah, sure. So when's it gonna happen? So when it was gonna happen? So when is it gonna happen?" And then I was like, "So guys, you should might want to wait until Bitcoin drops under 30,000 before you buy." And you're like, "Yeah, it's not gonna go under 30,000. It's not gonna go under 30,000." And I was like, "I'm not sure either, but if it happens, you should be prepared that that's gonna happen."
You know what
And
the most dangerous phrase is in this
yeah,
situation? When people start saying it's different
yeah.
this time. That is the most dangerous
Yeah,
phrase.
yeah, it's like it's totally different this time. And I have to be honest, I didn't expect it to drop to 22,000 this quickly. I was anticipating more like an August kind of situation, which means that in August or at the end of the year it could get even worse. Like
But
there's two minor things. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, it's not just the crypto markets. You need to look at the whole when you zoom out at the bigger financial system, world system as a whole. It's not just the crypto market is down. It's like literally everything from bonds to stocks to I'm not sure about real estate, but like these
Yeah,
financial instruments
there's a real
are
estate
all in the red.
there's a real estate crisis coming as well. So So let's start off with the real estate, and I'll give you my perspective on this. So when COVID hit, it kind of forced people to reconsider their lifestyle, especially people that were living abroad. So a lot of people who kind of rent out spaces and live part of their life abroad due to COVID had to move back home. And all of a sudden, the lifestyle of I can live in another country is only for the people who have really made a complete mind shift like, I'm going to live in another country and I'm not going back to my home country. But for people who are kind of trying to figure out if they could live in a home country, in their home country or somewhere else, they went back to their home country, to their family. And all of a sudden, you're like, maybe this is a good time to buy a house. Also, I think something with the mortgage, and the rent uh, that you have to pay, the banks also played a major role. So I don't want to discredit that, but I think due to COVID, a lot of people who were kind of in between traveling had to decide like, okay, I need a steady place, which make them also look for houses much easier. And the housing prices have gone up insanely.
Like,
So it's
do you have a
also
point of reference, or are you talking about locally in Suriname as well?
no, I'm talking in, for instance, in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, you if you want to buy a proper house in a proper area, you're talking about half a million euros
Euros.
for
Yeah.
a house. Like it's insane. Like we wouldn't imagine like in Suriname paying a half a million euros for a house.
And that's pretty small.
It's not even like it's just a nice
Yeah.
house. It's not even like saying like, oh, I want a villa or something extremely exclusive. It's just having a house for your family to grow up in, two parents, two children. You're talking about half a million. That's what you're talking about. If you don't want to live remote, 2 hours away from everything, and that's the interesting part as well, because for that same price, or even for less, maybe even half of that price, in France, in Italy, you can get like a complete castle for that
Yeah. Yeah.
price. But there's nothing surrounding it. So it's like the upkeep of everything is just gonna cost you a lot, and you're gonna have to drive an hour to the nearest
But
supermarket
even
there.
then, relatively overall, prices have gone up compared to like a year, 5 years ago, right?
Yeah. So Suriname is not a good example because Suriname the prices just keep going up. Like the housing prices just keep going up. Like even if
Well,
the
I can't
yeah.
really think of an example where it really went down.
Oh yeah, well the housing market crashed in 2008,
Yeah,
2009.
yeah. Aside from that, but that was
Yeah.
like art of, yeah. They were just over manipulated to a
Yeah,
certain
but
degree.
that's I mean, at a certain point you're gonna get to that point again that people are like, wait, okay, but this is an insane price. I'm not gonna pay this price. And it also matters whether or not people are financially stable enough to purchase it, but also financially stable enough to say, screw this, I'm just gonna rent. Or
Yeah,
I'm gonna live somewhere else where you don't pay the main thing. So Don mentions an important thing as well. The oil prices. That's an interesting side note as well. Um, Due to the whole Russia Ukraine situation, the oil prices have gone up insanely, like really really insanely as well, and that actually does benefit our local economy. Uh, to a certain extent because we heavily rely on oil as a main source of income. So from our state oil company, that's something that works in our favor. But then we also have the situation where the government wants to provide oil for a lower price than yeah for a low price. And then you get in the situation where you have to decide if I export my oil, I can cash a lot more than if I do it for the local market. But you have the responsibility towards towards your society to keep the oil prices low. So that's also an interesting dilemma that you have to deal with if you're the government at the moment.
Well, but those prices are separate, right? You have the pricing for local consumption, and then you have,
Yeah, but all the oil that you use for local consumption is oil you cannot sell abroad.
yeah, that's true.
And we've had situations where, I mean, it's the same in Belgium and the Netherlands that people drive over to Belgium to pump their gas because it's much cheaper. But there are situations where people are just taking barrels of oil from Suriname and going across the border to sell it off there for a very, very large profit. Because compared to the European prices, oil in Suriname is cheap. It's like really cheap. For us, it's locally it's expensive, but and it keeps going up. But compared to the euro prices and the US prices at the moment, oil is relatively cheap. So these are kind of things that also play a role, but more on a local level. Whereas internationally, the market is just insane. I can't find another word than insane. What I find interesting, and so far, the price of Bitcoin after every halving has never dropped below the price.
The previous all-time high, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the question that we should ask now is, what is the actual previous all-time high of Bitcoin in the previous
Yeah,
cycle?
in the 2017-18
2017, yeah.
cycle, it was in US dollar. It just touched or barely touched 20,000. So we are at that resistance line now,
So
basically.
what
If we're comparing
happens?
that,
What happens
actually, that's for
if
Bitcoin, but
yeah.
Ethereum already dropped below its previous all-time high.
No, but Ethereum is a different story because in the last cycle, Ethereum was at 1500 and dropped all the way back to $80.
Yeah, yeah,
So for the altcoins, it's not staying above the previous all-time high, but it's just not completely crashing back to the worst all-time low. That's so I'm not even looking at the altcoins. So if people ask me, "Are you buying Ethereum?" I'm like, no, it can drop even
so you
more.
consider ETH part of the altcoins.
I still consider it
All
part
right.
of the altcoins.
Yeah.
The gold standard in the crypto world is just Bitcoin. Let's not fool ourselves. And the main reason why I consider ETH more volatile is the fact that there isn't a hard cap.
Yeah, that is true
Yeah,
until, yeah, there's no hard cap,
yeah.
but
There's
there's
no
also
hard cap.
very much speculation going around the merge,
Yeah,
ETH
but still,
2.0.
yeah, but you're still dealing with the fact that there is no real scarcity when it comes to Ethereum.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
With Bitcoin, there is a scarcity that even like 20 years from now,
There's a predictable endpoint.
yeah, there is like all millionaires in the world won't be able to have one Bitcoin when it's all said and done. That perspective just makes it scarce and puts you in a situation that there's a scarcity factor there, and which most altcoins just don't have. But for Bitcoin, the question now becomes: what happens when, for the first time in history, the price does drop below the previous all-time high?
I won't dare to
Is there
make a
gonna be a
prediction.
very, very strong resistance?
There,
Is
there, there
Yeah,
is already a very strong resistance, but there's multiple things at play. But
yeah,
I think most big holders, especially
yeah.
Bitcoin, are actually stocking up now, even more Bitcoin. And
Of course.
I think just based on past performance
Yeah,
of the all-time high, the resistance is going to be ridiculously strong. I think there might, if it does drop, might be through a flash crash or something being liquidated. But I do think that the at least the holders will keep on buying in to build up this resistance line. Uh, Even though the price dropped, one thing to consider is the amount of new wallets wallet or Bitcoin holders has increased over time. That has not decreased at all. Granted, several people have multiple wallets, but that has been a growing trend.
Yeah, but you get
Bit
into the mainstream issue here. So if you already know that both the US and China are in the top 10 biggest Bitcoin owners in the world, and they continue to buy up, you get in a certain uh, situation. Uh, you get into a certain situation where the old money is gonna buy into the new money, and we're getting in the same power
some
structure
of the
again.
old money is already buying
Yeah,
into Bitcoin. So that's a fact. You cannot outpace the fact that people who already have money will not jump into a different asset to diversify, because everyone is scrambling now. Even
yeah.
the bigger, actually, the people who are in cash positions right now are the most fortuitous, in a most fortuitous
It's
position.
like how much depth does your wallet have to keep buying the dips? Because you know whether you buy at 35, 30, 27, 25, 22, or even if you go lower, you know at some point it's gonna be 50 again.
Yeah, but I think the mentality should be you shouldn't care. The moment you put it in, you should write it off.
You're a dollar cost average kind of guy,
Yeah,
right? But
that is the
yeah,
most safe, sane
yeah,
approach I could recommend for anybody if you want to
yeah,
avoid the mental fatigue and stress of trying to time the highs and lows and get ultimately burned in the end.
yeah,
But I see some more comments coming in.
yeah. So shout out to Mario
Hey,
for
oh,
putting
hey
in good
Mario, thanks for
price. Yeah.
joining. He's with me here in Portland, so
Oh,
I think he's
nice.
downstairs right now.
Okay. On Don saying like Ethereum has more options. Ethereum has many more options and much more use cases. But the problem is that doesn't mean that that's directly connected to the value
Yeah.
of the crypto
So
itself.
I I also categorize Bitcoin and Ethereum very differently. It's not comparing an apple to an orange, basically. It's basically comparing an apple to an orange is what I mean. So even though they're both of the, in the crypto family, crypto space, they're both have separate, unique use cases, in my opinion. And that's how I approach them separately. It's not one or the other, it's just one and the other for me.
So and then the next question, SRDC launch. To be completely honest, it's never it's very difficult to one of the main reasons I haven't dived into a community with a coin or a token yet is how scared I am of whales just completely undercutting your
I,
token.
I don't even care about whales at this point. It's about what is it used for? Is it even what's it used for? And especially if
Well,
it's being depending on where you develop it on. We're talking about Ethereum here, about the use cases. As Don mentioned, there's many options,
yeah.
and if I'm not mistaken, SRDC is built on Ethereum. The contract is built on Ethereum, and the proposition with the current state of Ethereum does not make sense at all. Being high gas fees, high transaction fees, and I don't see any utility that it offers or a problem that it solves aside from, you have a token.
It's a token. I don't understand why you would build it on Ethereum aside from legitimacy. I can't understand from a legitimacy perspective that you do want to do that. From a transaction perspective,
Yeah,
I
from a
know
transaction perspective, it is.
there is a certain person that I won't call by his name that his team was in Suriname actually and met with the government the name that shall not be mentioned in the Hive community, actually sent the team over to Suriname.
I saw that
And
article. I forgot to
yeah,
talk to you
eh,
about it, but now that you
yeah,
bring it up again, I I
and I
I
mean
I saw that article,
yeah, and
and
from
it
a
brought
tech
in so many
perspective,
questions.
yeah, it's very difficult, and that's the reason why I don't feel comfortable with this, because you have to be careful on which platform you build. Like Korea built on Luna, and look what happened. So, and I mean, if you look at the Luna use cases and how they wanted to integrate it into mainstream consumption, it was beautiful.
Yeah,
It was just beautiful. But
the dream was enticing. It was, have this magically work. The algorithm will fix it all.
yeah, so that's why you have to be careful. Like you have to have a lot of backing. Like this is just like people are like, let's create our own token, and then they don't start understand the economics behind how currencies work. So as soon as you just start a token or a cryptocurrency, but you have no sense of how macroeconomics work, how microeconomics work even, and you just start it off, it's kind of you're putting yourself out for disaster. Even if it works, throughout the years, you're gonna have such catastrophic failures, and most importantly, people that trusted you and invested in your product and completely get wrecked because you cannot guarantee the stability of your
So,
token.
so how do you feel about investors or venture capitalists or like early seed investors getting into these projects really early to, they invest with the promise of whatever promise, getting more value out of it or being an early investor in said company, but then it opens up to the public only to create a
But that's the same with
Luna
venture
of,
capitalism,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
like it is the same with entrepreneurship and investing in a company just to get your money out of in the first 3 years. I mean, like as soon as you have a company that's promising the investors a
yeah.
certain return
And
of investment,
and that's the
as soon
part
as you go into the public, you go public with your IPO or whatever.
And
I
that's the
mean,
part
that's
I
just
find very dangerous. The moment I see at least big venture capital start to surround a project or something, I actually take a step back and look, wait a minute, this is it them surrounding it getting in or and then pumping it like really big, they have budget marketing etc to get the price up, and then when retailers start getting in, it's extra liquidity for them, even though they made their X amounts, and then whatever is left is just circulating, uh, playing hot potato between retail investors. If
yeah.
there's no substance in the project, of course, or the token, that's
Yeah, I
most of the
think
cases I see.
and that's the problem. There are too many tokens. There are too many cryptocurrencies. Like there are 5 to 20 companies trying to do the same thing, and that's where it becomes like. And then you get into the pedigree versus the non-pedigree, and you're also going to look at the teams, and you're going to look like, is this a team that can actually make it work? Can they deliver up to that promise? In most cases, they can, because in reality, we're all in over our head. Like even the best ones are, well, I know, over their head. Even Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk are in over their head. Like like
Yeah,
it's
we
too
we
hard.
had, what was it, Libra from 2018 from Facebook that they tried to introduce. That has been scrapped completely.
It's too like, and here's the thing. Um, it's still the old way of thinking, like saying like I'm the god and I'm gonna make everything for everybody. But in reality, it's the team surrounding that person that gets put into to the spotlight. It's not the person that gets put into the spotlight. Of course, you need certain characteristics to be able to be a Bill Gates or an Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg. But it's not them who built this whole thing by themselves.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah.
team of people that build this thing by together.
And it
And
needs to be
that's
used by people to actually be a good product or token or service or whatever it is,
yeah.
regardless of the promise it provides.
There's an interesting perspective on this because I I I even want to go back to Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison, where from a tech perspective,
Oh yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
was it was Tesla's ingenious ideas that actually made things work, but it was Edison who was able to transform it to something mainstream. And that's also been the case for Bill Gates. Like there are a lot of people who came up with better ideas than Bill Gates, but Bill Gates was the person who actually was able to bring it mainstream. Like the fact that we had so many years of Internet Explorer and it was a terrible browser, but still people use this massively. And the
That
fact that we now have Microsoft Edge, and you look at Microsoft Edge and you're like, no, just no.
and in defense of Microsoft Edge, sidetracking here, Microsoft
Yeah.
Edge now is actually pretty good browser.
Yeah, because it's now undervalued.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Now,
but
now Google Chrome is overvalued in the sense that it's just so mainstream, but the development of Chrome actually hasn't isn't keeping up with the demand of what people want to use that browser for.
yeah,
And
it's getting bloated, but it's still the go-to just of because of the adoption curve and the
yeah,
population.
so there's a very big difference between technological innovation and being able to make it mainstream. So you can have like brilliant ideas, but you're gonna have to be able to make it mainstream. So the actual cryptocurrencies that are gonna work are the cryptocurrencies that one actually have a technical backing that's good enough, is solid enough for it to work and not implode when it's needed most, versus also having a team and people who are willing to get behind it and make it mainstream and look at ways how it can be mainstream. So I think
And
that's where we're stuck.
yeah, coming back to the price action, basically,
Yeah,
do you have what are your views seeing how okay there's a couple of things playing now, so it's summer is starting in the northern hemisphere,
yeah,
and a lot of countries, US, Europe, have been lifting travel restrictions, etc. So usually, depending on investments, usually people take summers to travel, visit, explore, and with the pressure
people
from the
cash it
past two
out.
years, I
People
think
cash
that's
out.
also adding pressure
People
to this
cash out.
liquidation.
So this the next 3 months are very important because you have June, July, August. So that's why I feel August there might be another 20% drop. I'm not saying I'm not predicting this. This is not financial advice of any sort, but that's the reason why I figured there would be another drop come August. And then the final drop for this bear market, which I feel will come in December when people are looking to buy Christmas gifts and those kind of things. And they're like, let's just cash this out because and and those are the two I'm thinking in 2023 as we move towards the next halving, things will start picking up again.
Yeah, 2023 to into
Yeah,
2024
yeah. Things
is.
will start picking up again.
And
And
things to keep an eye on now is actually the really active projects that are like undercover, but you actually see development and not necessarily pay attention to the price value.
yeah,
But that if you want to diversify at least, uh, but if you're not sure, etc., I'd say stick with what you know. If you don't know anything yet, experiment with what you can lose. like a very tiny amount just to get a hang of it.
I think that's one of the things that's very underrated. Is like people really put too much money in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They just put too much money in, and it becomes a greed factor. I can exactly know where this year I should have made a pass and stopped putting money in. I know exactly because Binance even gives you a warning saying like, listen, stay away from this coin. You're doing this at your own risk. I think I still have a screenshot somewhere of the Binance notification that you get once you start getting into shady coins and altcoins that are not like properly, and people just click away the warning because they're like, yeah, listen, I don't care about that. But the funny thing is people click away that warning on the regular finance apps as well, so it's nothing new. um, but getting to that point of investing or reinvesting now, because actually now between now and next year is actually quite ideal to get into certain parts of the crypto world. And I think also people are looking at altcoins now and thinking like, "Wow, this is cheap." But I do want to warn people that, especially for altcoins, you think you can buy something for cheap
Look at the
and
supply.
think it's gonna be the next Doge and multiply by 50. But as somebody who has done that in 2018 and still is holding on to those scrappy bags and saying like, even this wasn't worth it. Um, the only guarantee that you have based on the Bitcoin halving is that Bitcoin is one day going to be three times as much as it is now. You kind of, it's not a guarantee. Again, it's not financial advice, but at least with Bitcoin, you know, there's going to be a scarcity. There's going to be a greed factor in 2025. It's the price is going to rise again.
Yeah. And on the flip side of that, don't think you're gonna use that mentality, look for a lower cap coin with a
Exactly.
fixed cap and think, oh, this is
Exactly.
gonna inflate, like, oh, the price is so much higher than Bitcoin. But if there's no velocity, if it's not moving, then it's just
If people are
artificially
not
placed.
interested in the
Yeah.
project, the best example I can give on this is Dash. Like
Oh,
Dash used,
Dash hurt me so much in
yeah.
2018.
So for people that are kind of new in the crypto space, in 2016, Dash was like the cryptocurrency for Latin America and smaller countries because it was quick. It wasn't that expensive to buy. There were there were even local payment systems. Like there were companies locally in South America that were accepting Dash as a payment currency. They had sessions, trade shows in different countries where people could go and get informed about Dash.
Same with
And
Litecoin,
Dash is,
actually. With Litecoin.
yeah, no,
Because
Litecoin, for some reason, Litecoin had the international appeal and the online appeal, saying like Litecoin is the faster Bitcoin, but Dash was really community driven. Like there were like really people dressing up in Dash shirts and really going in, convincing the community, and it's faster and everything. And the price never really went up in the last bull run.
nope.
It just didn't. It
It
just
it dropped. I'm not even sure if it's in the top 50 anymore.
yeah.
Like
It
it
just
was a strong contender in the top 10 for a long while.
it was a great cryptocurrency. It was one of the early thinkers of how do we utilize a cryptocurrency that actually people are going to use to make payments with and receive payments from. But for some reason, it when the cycle came around, it's still top 100. It's still somewhere there, but it never took the jump, the multiplied by 10 jump that other coins and newer coins came. And that's also something that is good to know because the past cycle was really about the swaps, the uni swap, the pancake swap, all these FTX, all these newer forms of exchanges that somewhat made it easier to transition. And the previous cycle was really the ICOs, was really the initial coin offerings, like companies saying like, hey, I can't get an actual IPO because I'm not my my structure isn't strong enough to actually get the traditional investing and the traditional IPO. So I can do an initial coin offering instead of an initial public offering, basically being the kind of the same thing, but more geared towards people in general who wanted to buy in. And the ICOs really made the previous cycle strong. And this was more of a cycle that focused on the exchanges, making it easier to swap different coins and different tokens than it was before. Which I still have doubts about because I still think the fees were a little bit too high
When you're talking about
on many of the
fees, are
cases.
you talking about fees of the token transactions
Yeah,
or fees
the
to get
transaction
into
fees,
the?
the
I
transaction
see.
fees in general, both to get in and the actual fees of swapping on. I mean, and
Yeah,
like
for
here's the
for
thing.
swapping, you can't get around it because most of the stuff was built on Ethereum,
Yeah,
and that's when you had
exactly.
the Binance change, which is actually a ghost town right now, because
Yeah,
people still stuck to the premium, because when you get cheaper and more accessibility, you get a lot of spam as well, right?
yeah,
So that's a trade-off, and I think that's where Ethereum's strengths is, why it still shines even though there's ridiculously high prices, because that high barrier of entry um, kind of shelters it from all that spam that's going
yeah,
around.
yeah. So quickly jumping in on this. So there is a very big chance in the next bull run that we will see $100,000 per Bitcoin. But I don't want to. I feel that part of that is also just going to be greed and
Oh
hype.
yeah.
So we don't know what the actual worth of one Bitcoin is going to be and is going to end up being. And that's the problem with that I have with Bitcoin is it's really, and that's why I'm wondering what happens if Bitcoin now drops to 18,000. Like, are people really gonna panic?
Oh yeah,
Because most people are already
people
panicking.
are already panicking.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
it drops,
yeah,
it's gonna be the same song all over again.
yeah.
Like
So I think what the biggest problem is with these things is scaling, because I'm looking from it from an NFT perspective. So what I did to kind of consolidate, because again I kind of knew this was coming based on 2018. I didn't know when. So what I did is when Ethereum was around 3,000, 3,500, I cashed out most of my Ethereum and put them into NFT projects which I feel that were closest to a stable coin. I didn't want to put it into a stable coin. I wanted to have something that I could play around with while the market was actually down. Um, and so from that perspective, I've already won because I cashed my Ethereum above 3,000, and it's right now it's close to 1,000, 1,200. So from that perspective, I won. But the things that I invested in went down as well. Maybe not as hard. They didn't crash to 30. Did they crash to 30%?
I think they crashed as
Let
hard as well. Most of Ethereum NFTs,
No,
most
I
of the
stayed away
NFTs.
from Ethereum NFTs. I really went into NFTs that were centralized. And the problem that both spaces have, both the crypto space and the Ethereum space, it's also based on the amount of new users coming in. So when you just have the same 100,000 people buying into a project and there's like nothing new coming around, that kind of becomes an issue, right? Because like it's the same people. The money isn't really circulating.
It is
And and
circulating, I would
and
say.
I really want to jump into
Yeah,
this. Gregory, yes, it's true. Timing doesn't matter if you dollar cost average. But here's the thing. Not everybody can dollar cost average. Not everybody is in the situation where you can put money aside every month and that's also a discussion worth having, in
Yeah,
my honest opinion.
my take on that, based on your statement, when you say not
Yeah,
everybody can put money aside every month, my
yeah.
take on that is then you should be investing. Then you should be focusing on income. Then you should
But
be
here's the
focusing on
thing:
work.
you can focus on income in crypto as well.
Yeah, through
I
work.
think and that's why, and I'm a little bit upset with myself, but my
I
focus is different
I,
for
I
this
want
reason.
to emphasize that
Yeah.
investing and crypto are not synonymous. You can work in crypto, but it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you invest in crypto yet, at least. But purely investing in crypto when you can't set money aside every month, then I say you are not investor ready. Let's say that.
No, no, that's true. So I think, like, if you want to get into crypto, but you don't have the actual means of income to have a dollar cost average opportunity that you can put aside money to invest in crypto every month, because that's where it goes wrong. Like, people get hyped up. They have a little bit of money on the side. They get in a bull run. They get hyped up. They just buy, and they see their portfolio go jump and jump and
Yeah,
jump and jump,
it's
and they
euphoria.
think
It's
and they think it
euphoria.
doesn't stop. And then when the cycle starts, it drops, and they're like, "Yeah, but it's gonna go up again."
It is over a longer period of
No, but
time.
like, because even in a bull run, you have like 20% ups and 20% downs. So they're like, okay, it dropped 20%, it's gonna drop 20% again. Then it drops another 20. Then it drops another 20. Then it drops another 20. And then the panic sets in, because then they have to decide, like, do I sell this for with 100% profit, or do I keep it? And most people are in the, I'm gonna be a long time holder. But then you get again to, not all cryptos are equal. If you want to be a crypto holder,
You stick with
do it in
Bitcoin and
Bitcoin.
Ethereum.
Stick with Bitcoin. Like, you can Ethereum, but stick with Bitcoin. If you're gonna be a holder, be a be a Bitcoin holder.
I
Yeah,
agree with
that's
this
that's
actually.
fair. That's fair, Gregory. It's fair. That's a very, very fair assessment.
See it as your college tuition money, which is
No,
ridiculous.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah.
The only thing you should do is don't go into depth for this.
No, that's a terrible idea. That's actually a terrible idea. Um, so getting back to the point on where we are right now, aside from
Goodbye
dollar cost,
or bye.
yeah, aside from dollar cost averaging, because if you're dollar cost averaging, this is great, because you're like, hey, I get to buy on the cheap this month. Even if it goes cheaper next month, it's like, hey, I can buy even cheaper. Um, what else can you do?
If you don't have the funds to dollar cost average, educate yourself, study up, read, use the next 6, 12 months just to understand how, as you said, understanding how money works, is one fundamental part, right? Uh, yeah, take a step back, but just educate yourself, I would say. Other than that, don't try to time anything. Don't try to do anything. If you're not sure, if you don't understand it, stay away from it.
I think
Start a
that's
business.
very,
Get some
very
other
solid
income.
advice. Yeah, that's very solid advice.
And yes,
Um,
those are rookie numbers. I think you should experience, if you are you yeah. Mitchell says it, experiencing 80% down, 85% down.
we have the experts joining into the chat today. No, I think it's a really good time to start right now. to learn, to teach on yourself, to teach yourself more about what the space is like. I think this is the perfect time.
Uh,
If you want to maximize your next bull run, this is the time to kind of get acquainted. And again, I keep saying earn crypto, earn crypto um, of instead of buying. So here's one advice, and like if you have time to spare, like if you really have time to spare, if you're just sitting and you're thinking, I'm wasting 2 hours a day doing nothing, it doesn't hurt to learn about faucets. It just doesn't hurt. You don't lose anything from that. It's click money, and yes, I'm gonna be completely honest. It's better to start a Fiverr account and rent out your time than spend that time clicking on ads to get like small increments of Bitcoin. But if you're really lazy and you want to get into the crypto scene and you want to do nothing and get free crypto, look into faucets, look into airdrops, look into anything that there's so many people on the internet that want to give away stuff for free. Go get that free stuff.
get on Twitter if
Get
you want to.
that free stuff. There's
If you want to
literally
learn about the space, get on Twitter.
every day you can get $5 worth of advice or even $5 in crypto just for showing up. And those $5 a day, they accumulate. They just accumulate. Um, and the thing as well is spending time in the space, you will learn to what you should avoid and what you shouldn't avoid. Oh my God, Rajiv. This yeah. Get yourself a ledger. Get yourself a ledger wallet as soon as you have over $500 worth of crypto. I don't think you're gonna buy a ledger for $80 worth of Ethereum, but as soon as you have a sustainable amount of crypto, it's
Yeah, because a ledger in itself is like 100 to 150
yeah,
dollars.
you're not gonna spend $150 on a ledger when you have a portfolio of $80. You're not gonna do that. But
It's like that meme, right? Your wallet is more expensive than the paper in it.
I have that problem with I really want to get an infinite object. So infinite object is like it's like this really nice display in which you can put your NFT. But I don't have an NFT that's expensive enough that that fits in the display. So I'm gonna have to wait for that for a couple of years before
No,
I can get.
you prepare for it. You project it.
Yeah, of course you're gonna project it. But for now, I don't have that kind of quality yet. I have two or three that eventually could be worth that much, but they're not at the moment. I think the
Okay,
most expensive. I quickly do want to see what my most expensive sports NFT is.
while you do that,
Yeah,
before we get into over under, you put into the title
yeah,
buy crypto or buy crypto. So,
yeah.
what is it for you?
For me, it's earned. I'm not. I might. I'm gonna be completely honest. I might if December comes around and I have the ability to buy crypto, I will buy crypto.
Yeah, I would put it in that priority if you have
Yeah.
the income buy, but
But
for me,
I rather earn.
it is here to stay, so no bye bye. uh, but the next step is definitely earn. Try to find a job within the space because they need everything. If you're a marketer,
Yeah.
customer support, whatever it is, you can use that experience to learn. Just
Yeah.
right
So I
click and
quickly
save the
looked.
NFT.
My most expensive sports NFT is a Tom Brady debut, and it's just a common moment. It's worth a little over $200, but it's a record breaking moment. So yeah, you can right click and save, Mitchell. But I'm one of the official holders of that NFT. So yeah. um, I do quickly wanna, even though it's live and nobody knows about Splinterlands, Splinterlands completely shifted up their reward system, and it's now really rewarding people that play a lot.
Oh,
So
no, I'm not going back.
yeah, no, but I wanted to ask you that about Gods Unchained, if they changed up the reward system as well to.
They, from what last I've seen, they haven't implemented the update yet. It was still in development on how that was gonna go. I myself
Yeah,
haven't played for about a month.
yeah,
I was just burned out of
yeah.
the competition, but um, they haven't. That there was even an expansion, and around the expansion itself, kind of got burned out from playing. But they that trajectory is still in development. Um, the reason I still see a lot of value in Gods Unchained, it is because it's a game first and an NFT second, and that's the approach
Same with
that's
Splinterlands.
lacking with
Yeah,
all these token
yeah,
based DAO games that are popping
yeah.
up.
So for me, Splinterlands now has come to the point that they changed the reward system completely in my favor.
Nice.
So they reward you for games won instead of having just a challenge that you have to complete by the day.
So it's more skill based.
So it's more skill based. I earn more rewards from it. I can play a season of 2 weeks. I can just play 2 days, and I get twice the amount of rewards I would usually get.
Yeah, that's nice.
So it really it helps. The renting has become a little bit more expensive because I do have to rent a lot,
Yeah, it's
but
getting more
uh,
competitive, right? So
it's much better for me. So I think that's an advantage. And
and
the question, do you still play? I think we've discussed this. We should definitely post more and write more content.
oh yeah, yeah. As soon as I'm back playing, I'll be back on Hive writing updates. But yeah, you,
I do want to shout out the Joel, because I think Joel is on the verge of overpassing me on Hive in how do you call it? Sorry, reputation score.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, he has been very active.
Joel is getting to 70 reputation score on Hive, which is insane, which is beautiful. For those of you who are not on Hive that are listening in, I would recommend you check out Hive, the Hive ecosystem,
Yeah, that
hive.io.
that can be your entry point, your
That
low
is,
barrier entry point.
for me personally, the best low entry barrier point that you can get to get into crypto. It's a platform where you earn by playing games, but you also earn by creating content. And you can create any kind of content, and you can get rewarded for that. And I mean, that's I can't honestly think of a better way to get into cryptocurrency than going on a social media platform, and instead of going on Facebook and getting into discussions with people, actually going on a platform, posting and engaging, and getting rewarded for those engagements. Not just for what you post, but even for your comments, you can get rewarded. And once you get the hang of it, and once you commit to the community, you will definitely see benefits from that, because aside from earning, you will learn a lot about the crypto space there as well. So I would definitely, I still recommend Hive, and there are still some things in the work for creating a second layer token on Hive for Surinamese people to get more acquainted, but that's a little bit on the down low at the moment.
Yeah, and Mitch said it perfectly here. Gods Unchained is the only fun game I've found where users don't really care about the earn aspect. the game is just pure fun. I agree.
Oh,
The
Mitchell, Mitchell, you're not playing Splinterlands. I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed.
uh, I agree with Mitchell here. I
Yeah,
have nothing to say about Splitterlands. And he also made a comment here, reading Rich
yeah.
Dad Poor Dad was the start of his financial journey. Even that book is very controversial. And agreed, same with low barrier to entry. It's a nice way to dip your toes into that education, but deepen your.
This is general advice. When I started my master's in Brussels, our professor, the first thing he told us was, I want you to do two things and two things only. One, I want you to read every day for an hour. Just read every day. And I understand that people are like, yeah, I'm not going to read. It's not going to work for me. Well, watch educational videos for 1 hour a day. I don't mind that. I don't mind if you want to switch away from the books and go to the videos, but make it educational videos instead of entertainment videos. Also,
Yeah.
do your entertainment part. I don't mind. I watch some entertainment as well, not on a daily basis, but sometimes I do need it. But if you're saying like, okay, the book doesn't work for me, look at educational videos. So that's one step. And the second thing he advised, carry a booklet with you wherever you go that you can write things down. Keep a pen and paper next to you and write everything down that comes up in your head. And I think these are like general advice, just like reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, reading books. It's just general self education, general self personal development that helps you get better day by day. And I think that's the main takeaway from this because yeah, I'm upset with the current crypto prices. I really don't care that much.
I'm not really either. I don't
I
really
really
care.
don't care. I'm not in the crypto space to become a millionaire and show everybody that I'm a millionaire. I'm definitely not in that space for that.
But if this is your first downturn, cherish the experience.
Oh yes. Oh yes. In 2026 you're gonna be like, ah, I've been through this before.
Yeah.
Sweet memories.
It's usually only the bad things that makes amazing stories, right? If a great thing happens, it's like, ah, okay, achievement this, but it's the quote unquote bad experience when you look back, like, oh, it wasn't that bad at all, and you can build a story around that,
Mm. I do have one concern though.
which is,
The cycles will repeat, but I'm not sure the all-time highs will be as progressive anymore as they have been.
what do you mean with progressive? Like,
So we went from $100 to 1,000, from 1,000 to 10,000, from 10,000. We didn't reach. A lot of people were disappointed that
oh,
we
you
didn't reach
mean
100K.
the multiple
The
of a
multiplier
previous, yeah,
effect
yeah, the
of the
multiplier. It's
Bitcoin
it's gonna get
halving,
less.
it's slowing down,
Yeah.
and there could be a reverse scenario where it actually gets less than the previous all-time high. So then the cycle becomes. I'm not sure when that's gonna happen, but it could be a situation where you actually have that the high of this cycle is lower than the high of the previous cycle, and I think that's something that it's not talked about enough. That when that can arise or that can even happen, but I think there's a point where that might happen. I could be wrong. The scarcity could like tilt it over the moon, but there are definitely situations where it kind of right yeah it doesn't multiply as much as it used to anymore.
And you shouldn't care, if I would say.
Well, you're gonna care if you buy at an all-time high that it doesn't reach anymore.
Yeah, but that's why you
Yeah,
shouldn't care when you buy it at the all-time high,
yeah.
which is very, very hard to do if you're just starting out. But that's something you'll learn to master within yourself. So let's close off with the, I
With
guess,
some
two
of
quick over
rounders. Yeah,
rounders.
Go ahead.
Why don't you kick us off?
Honey, overrated
Did you
or
mute yourself?
underrated? No. Can you still hear me? Can you still hear me?
No,
Testing,
no, no,
testing.
I cannot hear you.
Okay, quickly.
As you unplug that, let me see if I can grab one real quick. Okay, he's coming back in a second.
So can you hear me now?
No, 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 no.
Then I think it's something on your part. Because if people in the comments can let me know if you can still hear
Oh
me,
wait.
because I still hear myself.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow, you made me refresh my browser because you had.
I think my headphone died. That might have been it.
Okay, okay. It's fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll cut this part out. It's kind of hilarious. Yeah. What
yeah.
were you saying?
I was saying honey, overrated or underrated?
Honey will is underrated and should stay underrated for a very long while because of the amount of uses it
Can
has.
honey expire? Does honey
I'm
have an
I'm
expiration
not
date?
sure. I'm not a it it lasts very long. That's what I do know, but I'm not sure if it can expire. If you do know, do tell me.
I'm actually googling it as we speak. The only way
But
your
yeah,
honey will expire is if your honey has been contaminated by moisture. But actually, it can't actually. Uh, it can actually, if it's stored properly, it can never go bad.
okay. So yeah, for me, underrated. I love honey.
Hmm.
If I can, I
We're talking for those who are really techy. We're talking about actual honey and not the browser app.
But speaking of the browser app, I was just about to mention that although I haven't used it ever actually, it is installed in some instances. It does give me some deals every now and then. So even the browser app, I'd say, is a bit underrated if you haven't heard of it.
Yeah.
If you're shopping,
Do you have a referral link? Honey slash Diego.
no, no, no. Just look it up.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay. Next one. Since you mentioned that referral links or affiliate marketing,
I really,
overrated, underrated.
I really, in the next 2 months, want to get somebody on this show that does affiliate marketing. I have too limited experiences with affiliate marketing to know whether referrals the referral system is underrated or overrated. But I think just by the fact that I have so much limited knowledge, I think it's underrated. I
Okay.
do feel like there are people who've made a career and are still making a career of affiliate links. But I have to be honest that I'm gonna have to research that, and it's something that I do want to research for my book. So I do want to look into.
All right. Get me one more.
Um, Headwear,
Headwear.
yeah, like wearing a cap,
Oh,
overrated or underrated.
for me, it's underrated. I like wearing caps or certain caps, but I think it will
Do you
differ from
feel
person to person.
do you feel there is still a prejudice towards people wearing caps?
Was there ever a
Yeah,
prejudice?
there is a prejudice. There is a very big prejudice.
Like, nah, not that I've experienced or like noticed. So, hence my question.
So that's I think it's a dress code thing. Like and this is
So,
very
then it would
stereotypical. I
be
have to be
dress codes in general, like a brother.
Yeah, but I feel like a cap is associated with certain culture. And I wouldn't see the prejudice is as strong as the prejudice is towards tattoos,
Mm-hmm.
which you can even make a case, yeah, but there's no prejudice towards tattoos anymore. Well, for our generation, maybe not, but in certain instances, there's still a prejudice towards people wearing tattoos. So I wonder if the same thing applies for people that wear a cap.
It hasn't really flagged my
Yeah,
observation, so I couldn't
yeah.
really say.
You're not conscious of it being
No.
okay. Interesting.
So maybe it's a generational thing.
I think it's not just a generational thing. I think it's an environment thing. Like in certain environments, it's frowned upon. In some in others, it's not.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But for me, it's civil. I love wearing caps. Just sometimes I'm just lazy to, comb the hair or
Mhm.
something, and it's
Yeah.
easy, simple look. But yeah. Okay. Last one for me: Rolex. Overrated or underrated? Like Rolex watches.
Wow.
Since we talked about investment, ending it on an investment note.
This is a really hard one for me. See, I'm the reason why I'm pondering about this one so much is I'm watching the NBA finals now,
Mm-hmm.
and like the landscape of advertising has changed. It's now the NBA finals sponsored by YouTube TV.
Okay.
The halftime show, the halftime show in the NBA finals on ESPN is being sponsored by Google Pixel. One of the sports sponsors of the European Championships was TikTok. So it's really weird. Oh, no, no, the halftime show is actually might even sponsored by Meta Quest or Meta.
Yeah, yeah.
And a segment in that show is sponsored by Google Pixel. It's insane.
It's a
It's
tech
insane that
giants.
it's insane that the tech giants, YouTube TV, Meta, and Google Pixel are the ones sponsoring like the major. They are the getting the major exposure on the NBA finals. It's insane. And then we just watched the French Open, where Rolex is still the official timekeeper of the French Open.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a major, like it gives the brand value still like a major. And here's the thing, I think, and I watched it recently on a show. Watches have a better rest value as an investment than purses,
Mm-hmm.
for instance. So from that perspective, from an investment perspective, a Rolex could be. I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it because I don't. I'm not a watch kind of person. But I can imagine for people that it would have definitely would have value.
But for
And
you,
I
it's
do have.
overrated.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's overrated. I'm saying I don't invest in. I don't have those kind of investments.
So that's what I'm saying. If you won't do it, it's overrated for you.
For me personally, yes,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't. First of all, the quality of a Rolex watch is really good. Like that's one thing to take into consideration. And another thing is that watches in general, they the value does go up over time in most cases. And you have to be careful with these kind of things. But this is interesting because thanks to NFTs, I understand general collecting a lot better now
Mm.
because things get hyped, but in the end it's about the actual value. And then you start when you have, because I have over a dozen NFTs ranging from worth 2 cents to $200. But you start realizing that like some NFTs that are now worth $20 are gonna be worth $1 in 20 years time because
Yeah.
they have high value now, but in the larger scheme of things, they're actually worthless. They're like the packets of cards that I bought when I was a teenager in the US, and I have like 200, 300 basketball cards, of which most of them have like zero value. Like I could just throw them out because they're never gonna have value. And some have $5 value, and some have $10 value, and some are worth more. How well you keep it up, well, that makes it easier on the digital front because you could spill water over a collectible and it could lose its value, whereas you don't have or have less of an issue with that when it's digitally. But it does bring into perspective that a lot of things are really not worth that much. They have value to you, but they don't. And from that perspective, I think Rolex is underrated because that watch, it retains its value.
All right.
Yeah.
So in general, underrated, but for you,
For me personally, I'm not a
overrated.
watches kind
Yeah,
of person, so I wouldn't buy a Rolex for an investment. Like it wouldn't make sense for me.
got it. All
Yeah.
right. Guess
So there's
that's
one
what
more for both of us. Esports in Suriname.
um esports in general, I'd say over underrated. So in Suriname as well, I yeah, period, underrated.
Yeah, I
No
think we
explanation
don't.
needed.
Yeah, I don't think we value it enough. I also wonder why there aren't more gamers, Surinamese gamers,
I think it's still
uh, hitting main
stigmatized.
stage. You know, but internationally, hitting main stage internationally. I think in the next 10 years, we will have a Surinamese YouTuber that has 1 million subscribers and has international fame. We're destined to hit that at some point.
Agreed.
Yeah, but for some reason, we haven't had that lucky person yet that makes it that far.
It's yeah, multiple factors, the reach, etc.
If we had better
Better
internet,
internet, it's also a factor, but
it's a very big factor. We're working on that. I promise. We're working on that.
yeah, for
Uh,
me now, the internet I
yeah,
have at home is pretty fine for most of the stuff. So that's
yeah.
not much of a argument anymore.
Well, I do
But
have to say, if you look at the numbers, I think one of the things that's insane in Suriname is that mobile internet speed is, on average, based on international data, the internet speed in Suriname on mobile is 3 times faster than the landlines. That's insane.
yeah,
That's just insane. And the funny thing is, for the mobile data, you have to pay, and for so so you can't use it unlimitedly. Yeah, but it's actually so. In the latest reports, beginning of the year, it was said that the average, and don't quote me on this, and people are gonna get upset because they don't have that internet speed. But the average internet speed for a mobile phone in Suriname should be around 30 Mbps down, and wireless landlines are around 10 Mbps down.
sounds about right.
Yeah. So that's just, I think, a very interesting thing that I would like to close it off with.
All right. Thanks for sticking us with us to the end on Twitch, YouTube, and wherever
Facebook, yeah.
Facebook this was
We
also.
can see the numbers on. Oh, I missed out on LinkedIn. I actually didn't put LinkedIn in. Oh, my bad.
Uh, oh, did you forget to reconnect
I,
it? Probably heard it.
I know. I actually I just forgot to put it in, but we don't get to see the numbers on Twitter, so that's disappointing.
All right. But to close it off, thanks for tuning in. I will try to have this up on the website on the weekend, but depending on the schedule and everything, because I can't really edit much on this laptop, but I'll see what I can do. Otherwise, I'll just upload a not processed version as the previous ones. But uh, it's still workable.
Okay. And I'm just happy to be back, even though my face I haven't fully recovered, but I'm just happy to be back online. So thank you for joining in. This was Social Confoes, and we
Till
see you
next
back
time. Bye.
next week, same place, same time. Bye bye.